Hey, welcome to Automation Notes. Brought to you by DocDigitizer, the Automation Notes podcast is a collection of new and inspiring insights about intelligent automation. We'll discuss with the world's leading intelligent automation minds the most recent trends, success stories, and promising projects in the intelligent automation space. But before we dive into today's show, if you want to take your automation projects to an all-new level, leveraging critical data locked in your documents, photos, or emails, visit DocDigitizer.com and find out how you can deploy the world's most reliable intelligent document processing platform in less than one day. Thanks to its proprietary technology using the most advanced AI breakthroughs in cognitive automation, natural language processing, and a built-in expertly designed human-in-the-loop, DocDigitizer offers the world's first all-inclusive intelligent document processing platform. You can get 100% accurate data from nearly any document with close to zero setup and a full pay-per-use model all into a single API call. Whether you're looking to process a simple invoice, streamline your customer onboarding journey, or get data from your legal contracts, DocDigitizer will be your trusted IDP partner. They also offer unusual features like hand-rate support, complex table data extraction, fraud detection, and out-of-the-box integration with UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, and many other automation tools. So stop spending months getting datasets and training models to deploy an IDP tool, and then end up with costly human-in-the-loop data validation on every single document. DocDigitizer offers an all-in-one, fully managed API, making intelligent document processing truly easy. But don't just take my word for it. Take the word of leading global 2,000 organizations, all loving and using DocDigitizer to unlock hyper-automation over complex and unstructured mission-critical processes. Head over to DocDigitizer.com and start your all-inclusive IDP journey. But it is now time for another incredible Automation Notes show.
Hello and welcome to our show. My name is João Fernandes. I'm the founder and CEO of DocDigitizer, and I will be your host for today's episode of Automation Notes. Today we have a special episode. We have Lasse from ZENZ Organic and Devin from Redwood. So welcome, guys, and thanks for being on our show.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks for the invite, João.
So this, I think, is the first time we have two guests on the same episode, so I'm very excited. Let's see how this goes. This was Lasse's idea, so let's start there. Lasse, why two amazing guests on one single episode?
Well, I think to some extent, right, the first thing, looking inside, I think I get a little tired sometimes of hearing my own statements about things because sometimes, you repeat yourself a little bit. And I also like to, get challenged to go in different directions. And then I've had a lot of talks with Devin outside of being, on LinkedIn. We've connected 2 years ago, I think, Devin, or something first off. And I really enjoy our conversations all the time. They always get a little deeper. Devin has 10 years or more experience in automation as well. So it becomes something that, and he's also interested in tons of things around IT and automation. So it takes some different alleys, right? So I thought, let's get Devin on. Let's do it, me and Devin and Noah, and see where this takes us. And then I'm really happy Devin said, that's a great idea. And you said as well, right?
Perfect. I'm very excited, and having two different perspectives is always very insightful and juicy. Can you share with our audience who you are for the people that don't know you and what you do at your companies?
Yeah, you want to go first, Lasse?
Well, I can do that. My name is Lasse Rindom. I'm the head of digital at ZENZ Organic. We are a sustainable beauty brand from originating in Denmark that are expanding across, first of all, Europe right now, but also globally with distributors with our certified beauty products, high-end beauty products. So that's something I joined because they have a really good, environmental goal, and they had some high growth ambitions, and I thought it was an interesting journey. Before that, I was the chief digital officer at Baketilly, Denmark, where I was designing the strategy for our digital offerings to our clients. And before that, I was the head of global automation, the technical head of the global automation setup at ISS. Yes. So that's basically it. That's what I've done. I've also been a consultant for many years, also with automation. So I have both sides of the table, SMB and enterprise level knowledge about this topic.
That explains why you know so much, Lasse.
I'm a historian, by the way. I'm a historian by education. My master thesis was about, royal courts and slaves in the Ottoman Empire. So
wow.
We can also discuss that in another part. So
that kind of makes sense even.
And what about you, Devin? Sure.
So I'm Devin. I started my career in SAP. I was an SAP consultant, actually working for SAP, and back in the day already started working on automation topics. And I went to work on the SAP client side for a couple of years. So I've seen all the goods and the bads and the uglies of working at a software company, and then working on a actual customer that suffers from that stuff. And then for the past 11 years, I've been in Redwood. Redwood is a provider of an automation platform as a software as a service. And we are very much focused on automating the more complex, the more long-running, the very critical core value chain processes of organizations, which is a different flavor of automation compared to what traditionally RPA is doing, as an example. But over the last decade, I've seen a lot of things and a lot of programs and projects around that kind of scope.
Fantastic. And how did you? What was the first contact you guys had with intelligent automation? So you already mentioned that you had some previous projects with automation or RPA or intelligent automation.
Let's just put the ground first here, right? Okay. So we're talking intelligent automation, or are we talking hyper automation? I need to know. I'm just curious here. What are we really talking about, right, guys? So, am I now a boomer in this market because it's hyper automation? Oh, we don't use that word anymore. That's 3 years ago. No.
Do you know what? I have a placeholder that says put here the last trending word you can find on Google, and last week was intelligent automation. But
brilliant.
feel free to use the intelligent automation term as broadly as you want. What were your first contacts with this space?
Secondly, I think also that automation and also intelligent automation to some extent, you can't really differentiate it from ordinary IT endeavors. Saying that IT is not automation is the most. It is. I think actually it is a semantic problem that we have in this space that no one really wants to talk about. I talk about it all the time. That that IT would be nothing if it didn't automate things for people. You wouldn't see an ERP system coming up in the 90s that didn't automate processes. That's idiotic. That's why we invented these things, right? So IT is all about automation. So to some extent, when you expand your IT coverage of your company, you're doing intelligent automation, right? To some extent.
Exactly. And I have a particular question on that, so don't spoil that question.
No.
And just answer the question. When did you start to have the first experience in automation projects?
I think I did AutoHotkey 10 years ago, and that was where I started. That's UI scraping.
I can beat that, Lasse.
Yeah, I know you can, Devin. I know you can.
Before I actually started working full time, I was a student developer in a semiconductor company, and I built their intranet. That was like 20 something years ago. Back in that day, I automated stuff.
How old are you, Devin?
27.
You built their internet. What the?
I built their intranet. Yes. That was in 2001. So I'm 42 now. 42, the answer to all questions of the universe. Obviously.
Oh, that's right.
And in 2002, I part of building some automations in that company. I automated a process using AutoIt, which was a surface automation tool, freeware back in the day. And back in the day, nobody knew about RPA or the term intelligent automation. They just called it UI scraping. And I built some stuff with that back in the day.
Fantastic.
I think also, right, wow, we should be a little bit on topic, right? We should say intelligent automation, that would be RPA as the beginning of it to some extent. And RPA was as I believe, first a phrase when you added a scheduler and audit logs to your UI scraping tools, right? And that's where, I'd say, when did we first start working with that? I think for me, that was actually 5 or 6 years ago, I think. using the first RPA tool for me. So,
but it's always amazing to see that although this space may seem very trending and new, the roots are back in the days where people just were scripting out UI-based automation. So there, in some extent, there is nothing new on the root of the concept of intelligent automation. Is just bringing a name and a space to something that people already did for a lot of time. Devin, I'm very curious because I saw on your LinkedIn that your role is automation evangelist.
Yes,
which is it's a pretty trending name, I must say. So there must be a lot of marketing there, but I'm curious, what do you do?
Well, first of all, I talk to people a lot. Like my job is predominantly talking to people, and most of the people I talk to are customers or organizations that are interested in working with Redwood. And the idea behind that is to help them develop meaningful automation strategies. A lot of the things we'll be discussing today is connected to cutting through hype in some shape or form. I'm anticipating that a little bit. And as I'm talking to leaders in our customer organization, it has to be find a balance between defining very ambitious goals for your transformation programs and how you want to use automation to accomplish that, and like a grounded, realistic view of what's doable, what's feasible in a certain time frame. And because I've been doing automation from a product development, from an implementation, from a project management perspective for more than 10 years, I decided that I'd rather focus on that stuff so I can help our customers succeed, and I can share that knowledge that I've gained over the last decade to make it feasible for everybody. That's kind of my definition of the evangelist, or in the fancy title of being an evangelist.
And a question for both of you. Do you think companies are now more mature when it comes to designing this automation and transformation projects? Because I see a lot of failures in the market, and I think this is very much related with their maturity. So can you comment on this? What are your feelings about it?
I think I said some things earlier about that for instance adding AI is easy. You see a lot of these PowerPoints. I say slideware saying AI is easy, right? Not software, but slideware, where you just need. They say you just need to have your structured historical data and then you're good to go. But no one has that, and that's still the problem. Companies don't have structured historical data in typical those amounts that they need. So it's easy to say we can fix climate change. As I said that before, we just need unlimited free green energy, right? Then it's fixed, no problem, right? So it's kind of the same statement, I think, and I think that's also the problem when you attach automation to anything, and have done previously, is that you don't have the right data for it. You don't know all the cases that's going to pop up. And if you do, you still just know the historical cases. You don't know the future cases, right? Always the problem with the historical bias in this area, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the future, and we can't really necessarily know what's going to happen. So that puts a lot of constraints on anything you implement, any automation endeavor you implement. I think that's part of the problems for a lot of companies. I would say though, and I think me and Devin discussed that last time we chatted privately, was that I think the push from RPA, I think that the RPA hype that's been for the last 5 years, at least 6-7 years, basically since UiPath started running rampant on Evangelist and everything, is that it made a push on every system to have open APIs. So right now you can't see any company buying a new system without open APIs, and that is obviously something that's driving into intelligent automation in completely different ways than before. You can now connect things out of the box. And no one in their right mind would buy a software system today that didn't have open APIs, right? Yeah. So I think that's the maturity. That's more on the tech market, maybe, from a push there and some movements there, than it necessarily is on the companies being better at their data, better at their processes. I don't think that's necessarily possible, actually, to become, flawless in your process and data mapping. Anyway.
Yeah,
Devin, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I could talk about this for probably 2 hours and just by itself, this
Let's
question. But I think I would argue that over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, business departments have learned a lot of stuff about automation that IT already knew for 3 decades. They have gone through the same pains and headaches and problems trying to automate stuff that their IT peers knew. But I think the fundamental growth that we've seen with RPA was driven by this gap between business and IT, because business needed agility, flexibility, fast results, and IT just wasn't able to deliver that, period. There are hundreds of reasons and good reasons for that, but that fundamental difference, that led to the success of this market. And
it's a budgeting issue also, Devin, right? Budgeting, IT is seen as a cost, whereas business is a profit, so you can add more money. I've seen automation departments as big as IT departments, right? It's like stupid.
I think that
no wonder IT couldn't lift it.
It's not just that. I think coming back to what I said earlier, I'm analyzing and I've been investing a lot of energy into understanding human behavior and psychology. I think business departments or business functions see the world completely differently than IT departments. And that different perspective and value system is causing that chasm. And you could say these speak dollars and these speak Java, and that kind of clashes, right? And then over the last years, you've seen that everybody did some form of POC or trial or implementation of RPA or intelligent automation capabilities, and they all succeeded on a very small scale. They had an RPA developer here that built a fantastic use case for invoice processing, but the moment they tried to scale it up to process hundreds of thousands of invoices, they realized, oh shit, it's really hard to scale. We have to make this repeatable, scalable, it has to perform. And by the way, it can't cost ridiculous amounts of money as we're scaling it. And guess what? That's what the IT department knew before, which is why they were so critical and so slow. And it's just that, as I said, that business functions are going through the same learning curve over the last years, which has now normalized the hype that we've been seeing in this space. And now people are resetting their expectations and what's achievable and what's reasonable.
So I think you're putting a very euphemistic spin on this, Devin. Trying to make it sound pretty. They learned some things. So basically, what they did, they were like, "You're stupid in IT." Now, then they went did something. Then they went and did something really stupid, and then they gave it back to IT again and said, "Okay, we were stupid."
I'm always trying to be polite, Lasse. So,
but I will make you a tough question. What do you think the IT departments can learn from this automation business-driven approach? So you mentioned the other way around. So business folks are learning the pains of implementing software, but is it possible for the IT to learn something from this also?
Absolutely. I think, obviously there are things to learn, right? But first of all, I'd say, let's start by not telling people they can get a bot for everyone and avoid operations, right? The reason IT is slow on things is because they know if they implement this tool with you, they'll ask you, first of all, who's going to support it when it breaks? And you'll be like, oh, I hate that question. So I'm just going to do some citizen developer bot for everyone. Come on, UiPath, whoever, come and give it to me, bot for everyone. And then it's fixed. 2 years later, who's operating the bots? Oh, I don't know. And then it goes back to IT again, because IT said we need someone to operate it. So that's the boring questions. And that's also what I said before about budgeting, right? So if you put the budgets, and instead of saying, you believe that this could be the fix for everything, just enhance the budgets in IT, I think they could easily become this enabler for the business. But in very many organizations, a lot of them, IT is a cost center where you just, try to pull it down, keep it low, right? And then you invest in other areas of the business, and that's where you put that's why you put your automation. That usually automation centers are very often under the CFO, so he's investing something here, right? Whereas the CIO budget is driven down. It's really weird thing going on here with budgeting. So suddenly, as I said before, you have 5 guys sitting in an automation department, and you have 4 guys sitting in IT, right? In small companies, and that's like idiotic. Why are you doing that? They're just sitting managing bots that could have been built the right way into the systems, right? Something's completely wrong here. And it's about budgeting as well, and about not wanting to buy the tough side of things, right? But as you said, IT knows what it's going to be like. Does IT not know what business is about? It does. It actually does. But it also knows that in order to do anything, you need structured data. You need correct data. And they look at it from that way, right? Everything business does is a data transaction as well. Data transactions are everything. And I'm not saying that because I'm an autist IT guy, but it is everything. But really, when you buy things online, you get data back. It's data flows. You can ask Harari, the one, Sapiens, Homo Deus, the books, read them. He also says it's data transaction. Everything is data transaction. So looking at it from that perspective, IT is not doing anything wrong. They haven't been doing anything wrong. They've just been under budgeted, understaffed, basically.
I'm not fully agreeing to that, Lasse. I mean, here's my take on it. I think IT has a skills problem. IT has always been the place where they just run stuff. They haven't been inventing stuff sufficiently. They're very good at running.
Have they been asked to do that?
Oh, I think they have been asked. I think that it's there. To my previous point, there is an attitude shift that needs to happen in IT, and I think the role of IT is not to be an operator, but they have to be like a software company inside the organization, which is a completely different mindset. And that is what they have to learn. They have to learn that they're providing digital solutions to their internal customers or to the external customers. That requires product management mindset. It requires value chain thinking mindset. It's not just about running the virtual machines, which is a lot of the muscle memory that IT has, is they just know how to run stuff. They know how to make IT like the ITIL processes and make them even more complicated and put tons of governance around it. But they forget about driving innovation and being more pragmatic and more goal-oriented. That is what they have to take away from this crisis. And IT will come out successful out of this crisis, if you will, if they manage to shift to become a product organization, not an infrastructure organization.
IT, one of my friends once said that, or also a vendor we used at ISS, said that a good bot is a working bot. And that's quite important, a running bot, right? So it has to run and continue running. And IT is extremely good at that, as you said, Devin. So they're kind of part of this whole automation setup. You need IT in it very much as the basis, I think. But I agree with you. With demo, we say you could have a no hat on, where you say no all the time. And they need to take off the no hat and get the yes hat on and say, yes, you have the IT saying, no, we can't do this. I had to put on the yes hat, right? So they say yes a little bit more. And then they have to work on, as I always say, flexibility, scalability, not necessarily talking scale, but scalability, being flexible in every manner of the word, right? And I used to say for myself as a what do you call a rule of life, or what do you call that, doxa, something, I don't know, ethos, that whenever people come to me with a problem, I will take it seriously and try to solve it, no matter what it is. What it is. And if I can't solve it with the skills I have in my automation, I will make sure to source it to the right one and send it on to the right one who knows how to do it. The problem has to be solved. That was like the key, right? And if IT took on that perspective instead of being, no, you can't do that, goodbye, then I think, yeah, right. But that's still again, then you need to have these internal evangelists from IT as well that go around, sniffing. Do you have problems, right? What are you doing? Oh, you're doing something. Oh, I can. Just looking over the shoulders of people sitting there typing. But do you have the people, that has time to just go around looking over shoulders to people? No.
You have to have. That's what I meant with a skill set. I think you have to have different skill sets, and that's the biggest problem I see.
And guys, most of the growth of the recent growth of RPA was based on this idea that you can push forward automation even though the technical skills are scarce. So everybody can develop a bot for everyone. It's like the trend nowadays. But I think this clashes a lot to what you mentioned and highlights the problems that you mentioned regarding scalability, operations. So how do you see this fitting the reality? So RPA vendors pushing forward low-code, no-code solutions for everybody to be developing, a lot of shadow IT, it seems, and IT departments that are very scarce on talent. So is this marketing? Is this a reality? Is this impacting the success of RPA?
Oh, there are so many, semantic issues here, right? So you're also talking about, so there's scarce resources in IT that can do these things. So let's hire someone who doesn't have the capacity. So you're asking people to do things they don't know how to do because you can't hire the right people to do it. There's a whole problem in that. Would you ever do that in any other area? We don't have a chef, so we'll just get another guy to act as a chef. Do you get my point? So if resources are scarce for IT, they're also scarce for the same things in business, right? So you're not just gonna we're just gonna look in a completely different education background and then ta-da, it's fixed. I really don't believe in that. That's one thing. I also think that fixing it with these citizen developers and just pushing it out is just going to give you a lot of operation issues. You're going to have a lot of things that people are relying on. Everyone's seeing, okay, we actually have 20 years or 25 years of experience with this, right? It's not something we just seen with RPA. We have Excel macros, right? So the guy leaves the company, what happens?
Nobody knows.
No one knows, right? What happens? Yeah. The guy made this really big macro. It works on everything. He leaves the company. So let's just redevelop it, right? Let's just start over. We don't know what he did. So that it always happens. It happens everywhere, right? So we actually know what happens when you put it into a citizen developer with no documentation requirements, no code quality or how to write it, right? Because it is code. Even though it's low code, it's still code. Right. So and there's logics to it. The logics is not the code language. People think it's the code language that's difficult. It's not. It's the logics that's difficult. It always is. You can have the easiest interface in the world, but just having to make the loops and the ifs, it's just fucking people's minds up. That's the way it is. So I really don't. But it is. It's like that's why you have your discrete mathematics, right? I'm not wrong here. But so that's why I really don't believe it. You can just push it out there. I also think there are, and this is my last thing, right, on this, and then Devin, you can chip in. I think there are two megatrends in this, right, as well. We talk about the megatrend of IT security and data integrity. That's something that compliance is something that we're really high on, and it's growing because of macro politics and everything that's going on in the world. This is growing. This is higher on the agenda. And then we talk intelligent automation. The other side, we want a lot of automation. Let's move faster with our data. So one thing, be careful with our data. Secondly, move faster with our data, and they don't rhyme, right? So you have a guy, you don't want to give him you don't want to give him access to bulk upload to SAP. He can't just fuck up your entire customer database with a bulk upload or delete everything. But then you give him access to the interface, and then you say, here's a bot for you, have fun, right? What do you think the guy's gonna do? Everyone can develop a bot, but everyone can also now fuck up your entire data and your entire system. That's what you're doing, right? So yes, he could do something nice, or he could ruin it all. And I've seen I've actually seen one do exactly this with the customer database, customer table. Just set a bot to just develop this. I think it works. Play, go home for the weekend. Coming back Monday, no clients anymore, and they're just moved around. They shift company and everything because he made a tapping error or something, right? That's just that's the thing, and they don't work together, those two megatrends, and how we can merge them. I think that's interesting, and that's why I'm saying has to go back to IT, a flexible IT. We can say that, Devin, add skill sets to IT, but it has to be an IT that has scalability as well as the operational capability. Operations is extremely important in intelligent automation. You can't say that enough.
Yeah,
Devin, your take.
I think of this in process layers. Maybe I'm a little more theoretical about this in the scope of that, but I look at this in terms of complexities and that you're managing with the people and the skills and the tools, and what your expectations are. Let me explain. So I like the analogy of the Excel macro because that's exactly what RPA does. So it's just more. It's an Excel macro on steroids because it can automate everything in addition to Excel in the screen of a single person. Now, if you want to drive efficiencies in the scope of what a single person does, it's a perfect thing. And that might be something that you're pursuing because you can make a 5% effectiveness increase by giving people the ability to build bots that do their job a little more effectively. If you want to drive standard processes, governance, consistency, data quality, it's a bad idea to do it because every single citizen developer will code their stuff differently. Then you will add layers of governance and layers of governance and layers of controls and checks and version controls. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in a place that you have a COE with 200 RPA developers or citizen developers that need to be governed and like a herding cat, which then again drives costs, drives issues, and all the kind of stuff we've discussed already. So you have to make up your mind as a company, what it is that you're trying to accomplish with this initiative. Do you want to just drive 5% efficiency increase, or do you want to make sure you have standardized and clear and governed processes? Either way, you have to pick a different approach and a different set of technologies and a different set of skills and people to drive that outcome. And the thing that's going wrong these days is that we're trying to accomplish the strategic harmonization with the wrong toolkit because we fall for some of the wrong promises that they're giving us. That's my take on it.
That's also a point I'm making often, right? Is RPA really a transformational tool or a quick fix tool? You get both of them. If I say it's a quick fix tool, people will be like, oh, but it's also transformational. And I'll be like, yeah, but it can't be both, right? It's not Schrödinger's RPA, right? Schrödinger's cat, thing. And you also say, oh, then you criticize it for being not a good transformational tool. And they'll be like, oh, but it's good for quick fixes. Come on, guys. Either or, right? And if you have a legacy system, you're not going to fix the legacy system by adding another layer of legacy on top of it, because that's what RPA will be if you add it like this.
But I think the point we were discussing earlier in terms of the education that has happened, I think over the last 5 to 6 years, people are now becoming much more realistic about what technologies are fit for what use cases. And if I look at intelligent automation or hyper automation, you can these days see that there is an acknowledgement, at least everywhere, that you have different sets of tools and capabilities and skills to deliver different results. And I think for me, that's an encouraging result. I'm a positive person, but I find it very encouraging to see that this is happening, that people have been more educated and are making more educated decisions in terms of their expectations from this.
But let me just ask you a question, Devin. Let me just ask you a question here on this note and your positivity thinking, all right? Let's see if you can give me a euphemistic answer to this one. Why do we have user interfaces that restrict people to typing one, person at a time and then give them bots? It's not like we couldn't make the user interface like just bulk upload. We know we can do that. We come from IT backgrounds. We know that we can do things with IT to make it much easier to fuck up all the data. I shouldn't say fuck up all the time. You don't necessarily do that. But no, what my key question here is actually why slow is a design sometimes, right? And how does that harmonize with automation and especially RPA bots?
Because the systems of record are built by people.
But you want
I'm come from it.
You build an interface, right, in SAP, right? Yeah. Okay, to type in new customers or something. Yeah. It comes up with controls asking you, are you sure you want to type this in? Is this right? You're lacking, blah, blah, blah. If you automate the controls, right? If you automate the controls, you're basically having two IT systems, talking to each other, and you're not getting any control. So are we just saying goodbye control, and we don't need that on our clients? No. Has anyone in the companies make that decision? We don't need controlling on our clients anymore. We don't need that. I have
the euphemic answer for you on that one. Yeah? Because there is a fundamental mindset that a lot of people have across the world is a business transactional mindset. And what I mean with that is, if you look at any system of record, it is designed and built for people to run transactions. And a person can only record a customer at a time. And if the screen is built for that purpose, that there is a human sitting here keying in the data record of that new client. And with that mindset, ERP systems, BI systems, and other systems are being developed, which leads us to this thing first place. If you look at an MES software that runs industrial constructions and production sites, they're not built like that. But most of the standard business applications that are running back office functions have been built for humans to operate them, which is why we landed here in the first place.
But Devin, in a way, what I think Lasse is highlighting is that we are providing the tools for people to hack the system. So they are
bypassing the controls, right?
Exactly. They are not RPA developers. They are hackers that are trying to to do batch processing on top of systems that are not prepared to do that. So
I'm the SAP engineer, right? I'm the SAP engineer. I sat down with the CFO and we agreed a control on customer creation, right? We agreed on we should have control, asking people, are you sure this is the customer, the thing you want to type in here? Are you sure? Because they're going to get an email in a second. Then some weird citizen developer junior guy in that department just made a bot for it. He didn't care about the conversion. He said yes every time. No one looks at it.
The fundamental flaw here is that you define the manual control. As long as you
that's what it is, right? In UIs, and when you do UI automation.
Exactly, guys. We need to move forward. So I will ask you a question that is very hard. I know, in particular nowadays, when everything is changing. But how do you see this market in 5 years? What are the trends in terms of technology that you see impacting the market? Some takeaways on that.
You go first, David, this time.
Okay, I think first and foremost, I think there is a consolidation will happen in some shape or form. A consolidation of technologies, of providers that will shrink the diversity of tool sets and capabilities in what we call hyper automation today. And also what will happen is that the aspects that Lasse was mentioning on operational scalability, for the lack of better words, these aspects will take over, because in the end, that's the driving cost factor. We're all making automation to drive business improvement and reduce costs. If the cost increases equally, there's no point doing it. So that aspect will become a much more leading factor in the next coming years, in addition to the consolidation of features and capabilities that we already have in like different sets of tools today. And
I agree. Yeah. The consolidation in different suites, right? Suite products that can do both RPA, both API integrations, being an iPaaS, being an RPA tool, and at the same time workflows, approvals, and low-code apps. I think that's the skill sets. I know a lot of people are talking now about AI. We also discussed that just before this meeting. I still think it's like talking about not something that doesn't really exist, right? So so they add that. Obviously, Microsoft added that to Power Automate, like AI Builder. But what is it already? What do we want to do with it? I don't know. I think it's.
It at least exists on the brochures and white papers and PowerPoints. So
because it's free, right? It's a free ride. Well, as I said before we started this call, it's a free ride because I'm a historian, right? So I read Karl Popper. I said that before as well about the falsification. Theories should be falsifiable, right? And so if I say you have a problem with your mother and you say no, I don't, I can say yes, you do. You just haven't found out yet. You can't falsify my statement ever, right?
Exactly.
So saying AI is going to do massive for your company is not something that you can falsify, because what is it? You just haven't found the right AI use case yet. Oh, it just, it keeps on going like that. It's free, it's cheap, it's just blah, 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 right? And you see all these other memes going on LinkedIn as well, saying that whenever you take off the mask of AI, it's just ifs, right? Nested ifs and increased computing power. Well, yes. And statisticians going on like, well, we've been doing this for 20 years, right? 30 years. So what's new, guys?
Yeah, that was my comment. Yeah. Like I'm a mathematician, Lasse. So I was doing this the other day. I was like, this is nothing else than a statistical test, right? And it is and it is that. But I think I would agree there is value in it. But up until it becomes a very specific item, a very specific use case, it's not adding value. And I think that's the kind of balancing act that will have to happen over the next years, is that we have specific use cases where AI or machine learning is applied to a level of quality that is better than the if-else statements.
But, Devin, it's going to be embedded in systems, It's going to be embedded in SAP, embedded in Business Central, embedded in your Salesforce. It's going to be embedded in the systems you work with already.
I agree. Because only then it's going to be specific to the use case.
Only then it's going to be large scale, and it's going to be invisible to you. It's not going to be like, we have this AI bot running over here. It's not like, we have Microsoft in Lyngby in Denmark, where they have a quantum computer. It's in a room, and people wear white capes there, or something, white sheets, walking around with togas, looking like, we're looking at the quantum computer. We have it right here. You don't have that with AI. It's not like we have the AI here, right? We're not going to get that. That's why whenever it's AI, it's because it's bullshit. That's my point. But when it's called something else, right? Like when it's called Google Maps, it's something.
Exactly.
But then you don't call it AI anymore. Because that one is actually very much AI. And when I'm driving, it's telling me, you should probably go here. It's actually becoming an agent in my life, telling me to drive somewhere else. But because there are a lot of cars on the other road, and you can see it will be congestion in a moment. then the AI is becoming an agent. I'm not even noticing. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, gonna drive over there, right? So you get my point, right? When it's called AI, it's bullshit. But it is there. It's just everywhere. It's just different places. It's broken. It's there also in Meta. It's just broken, right? The Facebook feed is crap. They don't know what they're doing, but it's there. Definitely.
Lasse, you are killing all the marketing departments of leading software companies in the world. But
it's just easy to talk on the top of Mount Stupid. Let's talk about something that matters to people. Let's tell them that this is about data and data flows.
Exactly. Oh, like the AI of Lasse is block his connection.
Breaking up.
Guys, we are about to end our episode, so I always like to ask our guests for a suggestion, a recommendation of a book, podcast, or person to follow. Not sure, Devin, if you want to start.
I would recommend a book that I've read a couple of months ago, which is called Value Proposition Design.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like this. It's mirrored.
Okay.
I can't see it. And the reason I recommend it is because it helps you to think about, to the point I was making earlier, about how to build digital solutions and how to communicate and promote your digital solutions effectively. It is a very good guide to get that right, because it applies empathy. Like in doing all the things we're discussing, and then coming back to my psychology stuff that I'm always talking about. If you want to get your strategy right in IT and in delivering automation and transformation, you have to apply empathy to understand what the internal or external customer actually wants. And this document is a good guideline to formalize that thinking and to give you some kind of playbook how to do that.
Fantastic. I think we lost Lasse, but I know it's joining again. Lasse.
Sorry, I think I was just going on a rant against AI, and then like, you get
something kicked in.
StreamYard AI was like, no, you are not saying that to me. Shut me up.
Lasse, I was asking Devin to share.
We do have an AI anyway. What's wrong with this?
At least your smartphone is hearing you every time. So, what is your recommendation of a book or a person to follow?
Me?
Yeah.
You're asking me. That's good. So basically, I'd say I thought about this a little bit, right? But I think for RPA, there's still this the formulated podcast. I'm not saying that just because I was their first external guest, but I think actually it had a lot of very nice insights over all the pods that were done, all the interviews that were done from cool people who built scaled setups as well as some evangelists too. So formulated is a nice pod. I also I've been really happy to follow the Horses for Sources, which is now the HFS Research as well. They made a research company out of it that's very successful. But the Horses for Sources blog was what started it. It's a really good blog, very honest all the time. And you can also find I think they 10 years ago were the first to phrase RPA term. So I think that's their claim to fame, right? It was run by Phil First, so I definitely also recommend to follow him and follow on what they are saying. I think every now and then some nice things are coming out of there. Obviously, a lot of other people, but I can mention none mentioned, none. What do you call it? Let's say none forgotten, something, right?
And how can our audience reach out to you and know more about your companies?
Well,
I would say the easiest way is probably to connect us via LinkedIn. That's the most straightforward path. If people are reaching out, I'm happy to connect and talk and get in touch for sure. So just feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and some of the things we haven't even really touched about. This has been a lot about breaking out, breaking down the marketing stuff and what's been going on, what's really the reality behind it. But a lot of deployments and the recommendations on how you actually work with the vendor and work with the strategy. I've done that. Devin has done that. I think that there's a lot of things we could also talk about that could be of great value to people who are actually trying to do things here, right? Because it may sound like don't do anything at all, right? But that's not the case, Just I think the key case is just remember that this automation didn't come to Moses on Mount Sinai. It was not like out of the sky. It is an incremental development of IT tools that has led us to intelligent automation. And that's why some of the same learnings, some of the same philosophies that we've had for years in IT still apply, unfortunately,
exactly
to automation.
I think you
and
just
reach out on LinkedIn.
I think you just share a sneak peek for a second episode with you guys. So, I think we have content for a second episode. But hosting this one was really a pleasure. So, having two guests was an amazing experience, and thank you again for taking the time out to meet me and to share all these insights with me.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, man.
Yeah, it was brilliant, Joe. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
I have been your host, João Fernandes, and this has been Automation Notes. See you next time.
Wow, what a fantastic show. So many incredible takeaways. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to stay updated with the most recent intelligent automation trends, success stories, and promising projects, please subscribe to Automation Notes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and YouTube. You can find the links in the subscription. We release a new episode every 2 weeks. But before we leave you today, if you want to take your automation projects to an all-new level, leveraging critical data locked in your documents, photos, or emails, visit DocDigitizer.com and find out how you can deploy the world's most reliable intelligent document processing platform in less than 1 day. You can get 100% accurate data from nearly any document with close to zero setup and a full pay-per-use model all into a single API call. Whether you're looking to process a simple invoice, streamline your customer onboarding journey, or get data from your legal contracts, DocDigitizer will be your trusted IDP partner. DocDigitizer offers an all-in-one, fully managed API, making intelligent document processing truly easy. But don't just take my word for it. Take the word of leading global 2,000 organizations, all loving and using DocDigitizer to unlock hyper-automation over complex and unstructured mission-critical processes. DocDigitizer is helping companies across multiple industries to reach their full potential through data by empowering their digital transformation, driving operational efficiency and human productivity, unlocking the power of their data.